Hey everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, June 26th. I want to start out talking about Sophia. Now, she did not beat around the bush this week in any way, shape, or form. So I am not going to either. Sophia straight up told Malcolm everything this week. Everything. She told him about sleeping with Neil. She told him about the baby and the question of the paternity. She revealed all. I was shocked. I tell you, I was not expecting this all to come out. I feel like Sophia had every reason to keep this secret. She had all her bases covered. She had Olivia willing to lie for her. She had her entire story straight. And she still decided to blow her own cover. It was because Olivia stopped by to see Sophia this week, and Olivia told Sophia that maybe the reason that she's having a little bit of complication with her pregnancy is because there is some sort of inconsistency or incompatibility in the RH factor between her and her baby. Now, I don't even know what I just said. That literally makes no sense to me whatsoever. I know nothing about medical anything. But here is the gist. Apparently, if the baby is Malcolm's, there is no problem whatsoever. If the baby is Neil's, Olivia has discovered that Neil's RH blood type it's conflicted. I'm pulling this out of my ass. She's conflicted with Sophia's blood type, and the confliction will apparently cause some kind of danger to the baby. So if Neil is indeed the father, then there is a high risk pregnancy happening for Sophia. So she freaks out. That's what caused all of this. She's thinking, you know, if there is a problem, I'd probably rather just get the truth out now, sooner rather than later. And I guess I felt like the whole lie was going to continue to go on, because even as Olivia presented this information to Sophia, Olivia was still very reassuring. I mean, Olivia was still very willing to continue with the lie. Olivia did not push Sophia in any way to reveal the truth, even though there was this new information revealed. I think that Olivia knows what a volatile relationship that these two brothers have. And she figures that, you know what, if keeping this secret is going to keep my family in one piece, then that's exactly what I'm gonna do. And that was Olivia's perspective on it. But that was not Sophia's perspective. Sophia cannot keep this secret one moment longer. If she feels that the health of her baby is in danger, I imagine she just feels that she has to get it out into the open. So Sophia and Malcolm are hanging out at Lily's house. They are babysitting the twins, and they're sitting on the couch just having a time talking about what color they're gonna paint their child's room. And Sophia just almost blurts out the truth. The words almost fell out of her mouth. Malcolm, I've been with someone. I've been with someone else. And, to boot, it was your brother. I banged your brother. Now Sophia was not nearly that crass, but she pretty much just said it. There was not a whole lot of hemming and hawing. She just let it all hang out. And Malcolm's reaction was so good. I am telling you guys, this is, I think, the best that we have ever seen from Malcolm. I know there are still a lot of people whose jury is out about this actor playing Malcolm, but I tell you, I thought this, he redeemed himself there. I thought he was amazing. I mean, the reaction at first was not what you would expect. You would expect Malcolm to explode immediately. And that's not really what happened. I mean, I think Malcolm, upon hearing this from Sophia, is just shocked. And he's trying to put it together in his head. And slowly it's all starting to occur to him that he's been made this giant fool of. And he's trying to, like, subtly wipe these tears out of his eyes. He almost just, he doesn't want her to see how hurt he was. And he's just kind of just barely trying to get the tears out of his eyes. And then he just stands up and walks out. I mean, he's obviously angry, he's obviously confused, but it wasn't the same reaction that you would expect from hot-headed Malcolm. He just walks out. Sophia's left at the apartment, devastated, just rocked her own world, and she's crying, and who decides to come by? Neil. Neil shows up, sees that Sophia's crying, asks what the problem is, and she tells him the full story too. So Neil, starting to put two and two together here, that the child that Sophia is carrying may very well be his. He may very well be the father. And I swear to you, I felt that there was a moment between the two of them, Sophia and Neil, of, I could be wrong, I felt there was a moment of joy. I really felt like there was almost a relief there between both of them that she told Neil that his brother knew, and in a way I felt like there was almost a relief, like, ugh, finally the lie is out. Maybe it was just from my end, but I feel like Neil wasn't looking forward to a lifetime of watching his brother live happily ever after with the woman that he loves. And Sophia certainly wasn't looking forward to a lifetime of keeping this secret. So I can't help but wonder, was there a part of Sophia that wanted to sabotage this relationship with Malcolm? Because let's be honest here, let's be honest. Sophia knows and has always known in her heart that Neil is the father of the baby. So I'm wondering if maybe deep down she really wanted to raise the child with Neil. I think it's a very good possibility. Well, just when she and Neil are kind of having this moment, one of Lily's babies starts crying. Neil goes off into the bedroom to take care of the twins, and Malcolm shows back up. He bursts through the door this time, and he has one thing pretty much and one thing only on his mind. Malcolm just wants to know, when can we find out if the baby is mine? That's all he needs to know, because he probably would have left Sophia immediately if it weren't for the baby factor. So he just wants to know how soon before we find out if the child is mine. And just as Sophia's trying to talk him through the situation, Neil walks out of the bedroom and Malcolm, like, lunges for him. I mean, Malcolm, like, grabs him by his shirt and his jacket and, like, he's just gonna, like, beat Neil to death. And Neil is incredibly calm. He's standing back just saying, don't start this, man. Don't start this. We don't want to start this. And Malcolm composes himself, pulls him back from Neil, and looks him dead in the face and just says, yeah, because if we start this, one of us is going to end up in a box. And then he turns around, gives Sophia this look of disgust, whips off his wedding ring, tosses it at her, and then walks out the door. Gone. I tell ya, ladies and gentlemen, this has not been a very good advertisement for the truth. Because telling the truth just turned this situation upside down. After weeks of agonizing over what to do with Jabot, Catherine finally decides that she is going to hire Jack as the CEO and make all of his little dreams come true. And Jack is like walking on air, on top of clouds, on top of marshmallows and puppy dogs. He's so endlessly thrilled to be back at Jabot, and he does not waste any time getting right back behind his desk, making his phone calls, being in charge. He loves it, and it was nice to see. I can't argue. Truly, Jack is exactly where he belongs. Finally. I mean, Jabot is Jack, and Jack is Jabot. But probably not for long, actually. Jack calls Catherine on the phone while she's sitting at Tucker's bedside. And Jack asks her to come by Jabot to sign his contract papers. And just before Catherine leaves, she kind of taunts Tucker a little bit. And because she's been, talking this decision through in his presence the entire time. And she just decides to nudge him one more time. And she says, if you don't like that I'm about to make Jack the CEO of Jabot, then you just better come out of this coma and stop me. And right after she leaves the room, we zoom in on Tucker's hand lying on the bed, and slowly he starts to move a finger, and then slowly starts to make a fist. And you just know, no, this is not exactly what Tucker had in mind, and he's going to live another day to fight for his company. Now, I think that Abby and Sophia must be like drinking the same water. It must be something in the water, because Abby decides that she can no longer keep her huge secret this week. So early in the week, she goes to Tucker's bedside and she actually confesses to him that she did this to him. And it was a very poignant moment. I mean, she feels terrible. She's telling him, just wake up, just get better. That's all I need you to do is just get better. I mean, she wants resolution to this issue. So later in the week, she actually goes to Victor and she tells him the complete truth. By the way, validating exactly what Nikki already told him, that Abby was driving the car. But Abby confesses to Victor, and Victor kind of had a similar reaction as Ashley did. Just kind of like, don't say anything, don't do anything, we'll get the lawyers on it. And Abby's not accepting that. She wants to take responsibility for her actions. She feels like no one is listening to her, like nobody wants to hear her side of the story. I mean, she's already gone to the DA. He didn't believe her at all. She's gone to her mother. She's gone to her father. And she just wants to take this on herself, finally. So she decides to make a new Naked Heiress video, which she's calling The Naked Truth. And she wants to confess to the world and tell everybody what really happened that night. And Ashley actually got very lucky this week. So since Diane is the only witness to Ashley's crime, and Diane is in a whole hot mess of her own, the DA decided to let Ashley out on bail this week, so she's ready to walk free. But of course, before she gets out, the DA warns her. Now, the restraining order against Tucker still stands, so you still have to stay away from him. You're free, but you still have to stay away from him. So what does she do? First thing, gets out of jail, maybe showers, gets a change of clothes, goes right to Tucker's bedside. She can't help herself. This is a woman in love, and she feels guilty. So she sits down next to Tucker's bedside, and she starts to tell him how much she loves him. She's been in jail for weeks and she hasn't been able to see him, and she's been thinking of him every moment. So she tells him how much she loves him, and she grabs his hand and starts holding it, and for the first time, Tucker starts to squeeze her hand back. And she knows in that moment that he's trying to communicate with her, and it's so wonderful as she's encouraging him, and she's completely thrilled and just wants him to open his eyes, and slowly he does. He starts to open his eyes, and this actually happened over the course of a few scenes. It's not happening as quickly as I'm saying it. It was somewhat gradual. I completely bought it. I thought it was wonderful. He starts to flutter and open his eyes, and they're all teary, and he's having trouble focusing because he's seeing things. He's come into consciousness for the first time, and he starts to struggle to talk, and his mouth is all dry, and his face is all red, and he manages to just say out loud, "Ashley." It was beautiful. It was just finally. I loved it so much. And Catherine she gets back from her little meeting with Jabot. She walks into the door. She sees all of this happening, but she decides to stay in the background. And she knows that they're in love. She realizes that Ashley is the one who's brought him out of the coma. So she can't do anything about it. And just she's standing back there observing as Tucker starts to try to talk some more, and he's trying to get out the words, why? And Ashley's saying, why what, Tucker, why what? And then he manages to squeeze out the sentence, why did Abby try to kill me? Ah! I tell you, damn, was that not phenomenal? I think the story was phenomenal. I felt that the portrayal was phenomenal. I enjoyed that to no end, and I just want to be one of the first to say, welcome back to the world of the living, Tucker. Your fiance's on trial for your murder, and your company has been rearranged, but welcome back. Can we get you a drink of water, or maybe a little pudding cup, or some Jello? I'll admit, it has been hard to watch the fallout from Lucy's custody switch. It just hasn't been easy on anyone. In addition to being completely isolated from everyone in her life, Phyllis is now trying to raise a baby on her own. And Phyllis doesn't know Lucy's routine. Phyllis doesn't know what this child likes, what she doesn't like, what she's used to. The kid is crying all over the place. Phyllis can't get her to stop crying, and she's trying to raise her in a condo, for crying out loud. She's gone she's taken her from this place where she had a yard and a house and other kids to play with, and now she's just in this isolated life with Phyllis. Nick actually stops by to check on Phyllis this week. And I'll tell you, it was a great scene. It was a really, really powerful scene. Because Nick comes in and he starts right in on the judgment. He starts in with his judgment of Phyllis. And he has a right to. I'm not saying that he doesn't. His sister is in pain. right now. She's hurting, and, you know, plus he's looking at Phyllis with this baby crying, and he can see that Phyllis is struggling. It doesn't take a genius to see that Phyllis is struggling, but nonetheless, he's still looking at Phyllis like she's the Wicked Witch or something. And Phyllis gave him a reality check that I thought was, it rang true for me too. I thought it was very powerful, and it was this. Number one, Ashley was a good mother to Faith, but that didn't stop Nick and Sharon from getting their child back. And number two, if Noah had a child and tried to give it away, do you think that the Newmans would let that happen? I mean, would Nick or Nikki or Victor, for that matter, let someone else raise Noah's child? I don't think so. Believe me when I say that I hate what this is doing to Billy and Victoria's relationship. I would love it if they could recover from all of this, but I just don't know. I just don't know if it's possible. I mean, Victoria is resolved, you know, that they're never going to get Lucy back. She's starting to come to terms with it. Even Michael Baldwin stopped by this week and offered to appeal the custody case for her, but she turned him down. I mean, she doesn't want Lucy to continue to be ripped between homes, and she, you know, she wants to do what's best for her, and I think Victoria is honestly just tired of fighting it. So Victor stops by this week, and I'm very proud of him. I'm very proud by how supportive he's being of her. He actually tried to offer her a seat on the Newman board, but even Victor knows that that is a poor substitute. That's not even what she needs right now. But of course, he could not let the moment pass without reminding Victoria that she is a Newman and Billy is an Abbott, and there the two shall meet. That is his theory, and he could not waste the opportunity to let her know that. Except Victoria was all set to forgive Billy. I mean, she was ready to let him back into the house, but Billy assumed that he was going to be in the doghouse, and he just took his stuff and moved out, back into his trailer. He is such an ass. Billy is such an ass. There's just no better word for him. That's exactly what he is. And how did I know that he was going to start drinking again? I called it last week. I said it exactly. And not only that, but he's gambling again too. It's like, in one day, Billy managed to undo 2 years of growing up that he's done. It's so frustrating. It's like Victoria and the family were the only things that were keeping him on the wagon, but he still has one daughter. He still has a wife. You know, he still has Delia. I'm so mad at him. Kevin actually got Chloe to admit this week that the whole sole custody of Delia thing was really about her being angry with Billy and not so much about what was best for Delia. Exactly what we've been saying this entire time. But will Billy ever know that? No. Because Chloe actually tried, both Kevin and Chloe tried to bring Billy and Victoria back together this week. Chloe tried to talk to both Victoria and Billy independently, but then Chloe goes, sees him acting like a drunk mess, and then decides to change her mind completely. Now, I don't know, I'm not happy with Billy either, but I also don't think of one day of binge drinking completely means that he can't rebound. I feel like you have to give credit where credit is due, and you have to give him some leeway to be sad, but you also have to give him credit where credit is due, because Billy was sitting at the bar at Jimmy's this week, drowning his sorrows in his beer and his whiskey, and in walks a beautiful blonde. Now, back in the day, Billy would have had absolutely no problem hitting it. And this time she was hitting on him hardcore. I mean, she was definitely interested, and Billy was doing his best to fend her off in the state that he was in. But, I mean, she somehow manages to miss the fact that he's got a big old gold shiny wedding ring on his finger, and she persists. She actually offers to drive him home because he's so drunk, so plastered. And she can't just drive him home. No, she invites herself into his trailer and whips her top off. She's completely oblivious to the fact that Billy clearly doesn't care about Nookie right now. She whips her top off and is ready to get it on with him. Billy's like, whoa. He hands her her top. He asks her to leave. And you guys will never guess what happens next. That's right. I don't have to tell you. You know exactly what's going to happen. Victoria walks in. Of course. And all she sees is stupid drunk Billy standing there with some chick in her bra. And Billy does the best that he can to explain, and even the girl is like, yeah, it was all me. It's sorry about that. And maybe Victoria would have forgiven him. Maybe she would have forgiven him, but she took one look around at the empty bottles and the gambling newspaper, and she realizes that her worst fears have been actualized. You know, maybe Billy was never a changed man. You know, maybe he was never Father Knows Best and never had any chance to be. Maybe he was always one step away from reverting into this drunken mess, the same drunken mess that he was when she found him. And with that, she turns away to leave, and she says to him, I think, the one thing that neither one of them ever wanted to believe was true. My father was right about you. Like mother, like son, Jill has the same reaction to dealing with pain as Billy does. Drink, get drunk, that's their solution. So finally, after Catherine has been trying to reach Jill on her cell phone, she finally tracks her down at Glowworm. And at first, you kind of get the sense that Catherine is wanting to needle Jill, you know, kind of to rub it in, or to tell Jill that she was a fool to ever trust Colin in the first place, and she should have listened to Catherine all along. But Catherine just wants to help Jill talk through her problems, and it was actually kind of funny. They're sitting at Glowworm over an extended period of time, and Jill and Catherine's just talking at Jill, and Jill just looks up and says, "Why am I not drunk yet?" And Catherine just matter-of-factly says, "Because I've been having the bartender water down your drinks." I thought that was so beautiful. Just that delivery was just so good. Just because I've been having the bartender water down your drinks. It was very good. It actually turned out to be a really good conversation, and I think it was a very healing conversation for Jill, and Catherine actually said something that was brilliant, and it summed up the entire Colin situation perfectly. She said, Colin was more determined to get past your defenses than you were to guard them, to protect them. And I just thought, dang, ain't that the truth? And can't that all kind of be said for all of us at some point? I mean, haven't you all kind of felt like that? Like, at a certain point, someone is more determined to get past your walls than you are to guard them. I just thought that was such a wonderful way to put it, and it just summed everything up so nicely. And, I mean, Catherine wasn't placating Jill. She wasn't attempting to be super nice, because Jill wouldn't respond if Catherine were just being super nice. So Catherine just gave it to her straight. You got played. Sorry, but you have to get past it. And if you're gonna get angry, don't get angry at yourself. Get angry at him. Get angry at the situation. And Lily and Neil were having a very similar conversation just a couple of booths over. I mean, Lily and Jill, they're in a very similar situation. I mean, they're like two peas in a pod for what they're going through, and they both still have to deal with Genevieve hanging around. Man, there's just something creepy about her, don't you think? I just feel like she seems unstable in like a Patty Williams kind of way, like not usual unstable. She seems genuinely unstable. And she sees Lily and Neil having a conversation, and she butts up in on it and starts telling Lily how much she wants to get to know her and how much she wants to be a part of the family. And Jill just walks right over to Genevieve and wants to protect Lily and just says, "Back off, bitch." That's good. I love a week when we get a good "back off, bitch." That's a pretty good line. So, I mean, Jill's not going to let Genevieve get up in Lily's. I mean, people seem to want to protect Lily, and really, hasn't everyone been through enough without having Genevieve continue to put on this thick coat of icing on the situation? I mean, just go away. Of course, meanwhile, Colin is still in the hospital, but he's getting ready for his big trial. So he puts on his suit and his tie, and he is starting to act more crazy than ever. I could have sworn he was trying to work on an insanity plea or something, because he's just being very funny and very nutty, and it's been kind of fun, honestly. I'm kind of liking Colin more now than I ever have. And this is a weird thing too, but I had this thought that, like, I'm not a capital punishment kind of person, but just with the way he's been acting so nuts, I would just almost love to see Colin frying in the electric chair, because I'm sure he'd have lots of lines, like a really great line right before they zzz, just fry him. That'd be fun. Wouldn't that be fun? But it's not going to happen. Don't worry, it's not going to happen at all, because right in the middle of this argument of, Genevieve versus Lily and Neil and Jill and Catherine, Colin walks right into Glowworm, free as a bird, free of all charges. Everything has been dropped, and we find out that Colin apparently has diplomatic immunity. Since when did Colin become a diplomat? I would love to know. I guess he just has some friends in high places in Australia that were able to probably make him a diplomat after the fact. So he's walking around free. And although he may have given up on the idea of taking his grandchildren back to Australia, he has not given up on the idea of being Jill's husband. Colin starts telling Jill how much he loves her and how much he never wanted to hurt her, and falling in love with her was never part of his plan. And I honestly think it's mostly about getting under Genevieve's skin. I think this is all a sick little game between Colin and Genevieve that other people have just gotten caught up in. And I just thank God that Jill is not going to be fooled twice. She's not going to let this happen to her twice. It would be so easy for her to just fall back into his arms, because she loved Colin. And he was always good to her. I mean, say what you will about his actions, but he was never mean to her. I mean, he lied to her, but he always treated her right. And, and I was nervous for Jill. Like, is she going to fall back for it? But this is Jill's chance to redeem herself. This is her chance to make the right decision this time. And she did. She tells Colin to just go take a flying leap, and she takes off her wedding ring and she starts to move on. That's exactly what she needed to do. It is not so easy for Lily, though. That is definitely something that Lily is still struggling with. I mean, her head is telling her to stay away from Kane. You know, he's no good for her. And she actually said this week to Neil, I should have left him a dozen lies ago. Oh, that was a good line. It's so true, so true. But she has 2 children with the man. I mean, what is she supposed to tell them about their father? So she has this really horrible choice that she's having to make, and Kane is actually doing a really good job of staying away from her. You know, I would be expecting him to kind of push himself on her, continue to try to plead his case with her, but he's not. He really is staying away from her. I mean, he saw her at the coffee house this week, and he just slowly backed away. You know, didn't say anything to her, just backed out of the room. And he's definitely not trying to push her. And he's really not trying to push anybody. Kane is an outcast in town right now. I mean, nobody wants to associate with him. I mean, let's see, Lily doesn't, and her whole family don't want to have anything to do with him. Jill, even Catherine doesn't want to have anything to do with him. And Chloe. I mean, nobody. They all are just shunning away from him. And I can't say that I blame them. I mean, Kane gambled with all of our hearts. You know, I mean, we let him in and he lied to us. And it's like, I want to be done with him. I want to tell him to just go to hell. But then he walks back into my life and he's looking all good, and with that way that he tucks in his shirt only in the front, right at the belt, so the rest of the shirt is untucked, but he just tucks it in right at the belt, right at the front of the belt, in that way that it just says, look at my crotch, Allie. Go ahead. You know you want to. How is it that all of the men in San Pueblo, Arizona are smoking hot? Because I live in a rural area, and I can tell you right now that none of the men look like Sam or like Piper's dad. I'm just telling you. Piper's dad is a U.S. Marshal. So that's the big revelation for this week. Of course, in real life, he'd probably be like a fat slob, but whatever. Sharon takes one look at his bright, shiny badge, and she practically dives into a bale of hay. She is scared. And it doesn't take a U.S. Marshal to figure out that this is a woman with secrets, a woman who's running from something, a woman who's hiding something. Her only friends, the only people she will allow her to see her, are Sam and Piper. And Sam just is in love with her, clearly. And Piper is too busy playing Love Connection to notice anything else. I mean, Piper's cute. She clearly wants to see her friends, Sam and Sherry, get together and become girlfriend and boyfriend. And Piper actually asked Sharon this week, is Sam your boyfriend? And Sharon Sharon's a little shocked. She responds, no. I don't know what would make you think that. I mean, right now, there's no room for a man in my life, she said. And I'm thinking, aw, don't speak so soon. I mean, there's always room for a man in your life, Sharon. Let's be honest here. Of course, Sam overhears this entire thing, and it breaks his poor little heart. So Sharon's working out in the barn, and she manages to slice her leg open on accident with some kind of tool. And she's bleeding all over the barn, and she's got this deep cut in her calf, and Sam wants to rush her to the hospital. But Sharon's like, no hospitals, refuses, gets downright mean, does not want to go to the hospital. So she forces Sam to stitch her leg up himself. He's a vet. I mean, after all, he's a vet. Why not? I mean, getting your leg stitched up by a vet. It's a far cry from getting a mani-pedi at the GCAC. Let me tell you that right now. But Sam is like, you know what? Look, fine. I will stitch up your leg. But if I'm going to help you out, then you're gonna have to let me know what I'm getting myself into here. I mean, clearly at this point, it's becoming obvious. She's running from something. She doesn't want to be known. And it's only fair. I mean, he's helping her. And it's only fair, I think, that she should open up to him. I mean, he's seen the police there before. He's seen her dodge the police there. He's not a dummy. He knows she's running from something, and he's helping her out big time. Sharon is lucky she found Sam. She could be a whole lot worse off, and I want her to open up to him so bad. I just am finding myself, I want her to start to come open. You know, and she actually does. She starts to try to tell him in a roundabout way about her past. But really, it's not details. All she's telling him is that she made a bad decision. Well, what does that even mean? Everybody's made a bad decision. She doesn't give him any details whatsoever. Well, Sam finishes stitching up her leg. And she stands up to try to walk on her own, and oh, she stumbles and she falls into Sam's arms. And Sam just looks at her like she is the love of his life, and he just kisses her. And it was short, but it was passionate. And I don't know, did anybody see who initiated the kiss? It felt mutual to me. It was either mutual or Sam initiated it, but Sharon certainly wasn't pushing him away. I mean, she definitely, she enjoyed it, I think. But it was so awkward afterwards. It was just so awkward. Sam, I think, felt totally embarrassed. And Sharon, I think, was just shocked. She was like, huh? What just happened? I mean, she wasn't expecting that. She's just, you know, gone through kind of a horrible little surgery there, and all of a sudden she's getting a smooch from the doc. And I don't know. I think that was a real turning point. It's embarrassing now, but I think it's going to be a turning point because honestly, after this kiss, things are not going to be the same between them. There's no way. I just feel like Sharon is going to have to make another decision soon. It's time. You know, she needs to decide to either move forward or move along. Adam and Jack and Diane are so proud of themselves. They have managed to pull off a coup that has made them a ton of money, gained them a lot of power, and most importantly, really got under Victor's skin. And that's what they really wanted, probably more than anything. So they're all three at Glowworm, celebrating with a bottle of champagne, celebrating their little victory. Now, Adam did not know that Diane told Jack about that entire plan just to hedge her bets, because she didn't trust Adam, just to make sure that she got money from somebody. And Jack had absolutely no problem opening up his mouth and blabbing the full truth to Adam. Just told him everything, that's exactly what Diane did. Blew the whistle on his little partner. And at first, Diane and I thought that Adam was going to be absolutely furious with her. And then later, he just looks at her and says, "Well played. Well played." And it was an interesting little moment, except that it wasn't exactly true. Later at the hotel room, Adam revealed to Diane that pretty much that was a setup. He was definitely plenty happy to let Jack and Diane take the fall for this entire thing. I mean, Victor has the SEC looking into that whole thing that happened, Adam's entire plan, and certainly Adam knew that that was going to happen. Adam didn't think that Victor was just going to take it, or that there wasn't going to be any follow-up investigation, so why not let Diane take the fall? And maybe it was just, hey, fine, that Jack got involved too, whatever. More attention away from him. So, I mean, the SEC has already paid Diane a personal visit, advising her not to leave town. And now my question is, I'm just wondering, was it always in Adam's plan to let Diane get blamed for this entire thing? Or was that just like a happy side note? I wonder. I wonder. I hate to say it, Diane, but if you sleep with the dogs, you're gonna wake up with the fleas. Don't be surprised when you wake up with the fleas. I'm very sad that Mara West is leaving the show, but I do think that Diane is kind of getting her comeuppance here. I do. I wish that Mara West were going to say, I wish it wasn't true that she was going to be leaving, and I wish she would at least leave the kid, because Kyle is one of the few child actors I've ever really liked. So I was actually kind of sad about the idea of losing Kyle too. Well, Adam is unusually calm, I think, about this entire thing. Much more calm than he should be. He paid a visit to Victor this week in Victor's office, and of course he was gonna gloat. He wanted to gloat about his recent acquisition. Yeah, he's a major stockholder now. So he goes to Victor and he tells him that he is demanding a seat on his board of directors. And all I can say is, everything I was thinking during all those scenes is that Michael Mooney is good. He is beyond good. There is just something. He's standing there gloating over Victor, and there is just something in his delivery that is just dead on. It's like he has got the ultimate confidence, and I mean that in the sense of with emphasis on the con part. Confidence. I think that's what it is. He's just, there is something about this portrayal. I feel it. It feels pathological. I just get that feeling from the character of Adam now, and Adam just pulls out a chair and just puts his feet up on the table in Victor's office, and he's just sitting there, you know, he's all, let's work together, let's work together. You know, he's got Victor over a barrel, he thinks, and he's just going to continue to rub it in. And Victor just looks at Adam calmly and says, you want to know what I think about you sitting on my board in that chair? And Victor stands up, picks up that chair, and boom, throws it right through the window. Yep, it was the old chair through the window bit, and it was, it was beautiful. I loved every single moment of it. Like, just when Michael Mooney was about to upstage Eric Braeden, Victor tosses that chair through the window and then turns around and gives Adam a little wink. It was beautiful. I knew something was up. For that whole scene, I noticed that the windows in Victor's office were open. The shades are not usually open, and I knew those windows were open. Something was about to happen. It was wonderful. And Adam decides to just go right to the media after all of this happens, and he's going to tell them all about Victor's little tantrum. And it was kind of interesting. While he was doing this interview at the coffee house, Nick comes in, and of course Nick starts to kind of badger him. I mean, they start to fight over Sharon, as they always do. And then Noah stops by, and I gotta tell you, there is something more tender about the relationship between Adam and Noah. Like, Noah's not as angry with Adam as Nick is. There's something about Noah where it's like there's a piece of Sharon in Noah, and you know, I think, wants to maybe believe the best in people. I mean, Noah has every reason to hate Adam, but he almost, you know, there's almost just a little bit of leeway that he's given him there Like he wants to believe the best in him, and I don't know. I guess we can see where that got Sharon, though. I mean, that got Sharon. Her trust in Adam, her wanting to believe, or belief in Adam is what got her exactly into the situation that she's in today. So, Diane is learning that lesson right now. She is the one that's learning what it's like to do business with Adam, because Diane is in deeper into trouble than she really should be. I mean, she's going to end up taking the fall for all of this. I can see it happening now. I can see Jack and Adam skating away and Diane taking the complete fall for it, but not before they all get put through the ringer. I think they're all going to get put through the ringer by the feds, because Victor managed to convince the feds to let him hand deliver the subpoenas to Adam and Diane and Jack. Bam! Triple served. Okay, well those are my thoughts for this week. I hope that you guys enjoyed them, and I hope that you are clamoring right now to leave me some feedback and let me know what you're thinking about this week's show. I can't wait to hear your comments. I want to say a little bit of a shout out to my friends in Australia that I've been chatting with a bit on Facebook this week. It's always nice to hear from people, and especially, oh my goodness, halfway across the world. That's a wonderful delight. And if anybody else wants to check out my Facebook page and join in on the chat there, I will put the link to my Facebook fan page in the description of this video, or you can also just look it up, Allie's YNR chat. If you want to fan me on Facebook and chat with me a little bit throughout the week, you can definitely do that. You can also find me on Twitter. I'll put the link to my Twitter account also in the description of this video. And anyway, the best way to just feedback is to leave me a comment here. I'm always reading those and always appreciating them. And if you guys are enjoying my chat, definitely feel free to share it with your friends, share the link, let other people know about my little videos here. That always helps to keep me motivated when I meet new folks and see new subscribers. That always makes me happy. So definitely help a brother out. Spread the word about YNR chat. Okay. Well, that is it for me for this week. Totally looking forward to the next week of show, and I know that you guys are too, so I'll be thinking of you and watching right along with you. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!